For the hat, I've gotten 2 stitch markers ready and a measuring tape, which we'll need in a moment. And I'm using a blended yarn here. You can use any yarn you like with the corresponding crochet hook. I won't be giving any stitch counts, but rather the measurements in centimeters, and then you can adjust it to your liking. I'm making a hat for a head circumference of 52 centimeters, so it's more of a child size. For this, I'm now casting on stitches to a length of 24 cm. For a standard hat, you'd need about 19 centimeters for a 52 centimeter head circumference. But I want to be able to fold up the brim at the bottom a little, right, as you saw earlier. And that's why I need a few extra centimeters. If you have a head circumference of 55, then you'd make it about 20.5 centimeters. And you can also adjust that depending on if you want a long beanie or, if you want it to fit snugly on the head or not. Right? So you can decide that now. It's blurry here. The hat isn't worked from the top down or from the bottom up. I mean, it's not knitted crocheted. Instead, we are going to crochet one long piece widthwise, and then we'll sew it together at the end, or rather crochet it together at the end. That's why it's important that you decide from the very beginning how tall you want your hat to be. And I'll just get started. So as I said, I'm making it a total of 24 centimeters. That will vary depending on your yarn weight or hook size. And to do that, I'm first going to carefully make a foundation chain, continuing until I've reached the length I want. So in my case, that's 24 centimeters. If, as I said, you want to make a long beanie, then just add a few more centimeters. Or if it's for a baby, feel free to look at a sock chart. You'll find not a sock chart, a hat chart, a sizing chart. You can find lots of them on the internet. You can look it up there. And of course, you can check out my channel. I have lots of other tutorials, crochet and knitting patterns, all free of course. And I would really appreciate it if you subscribed. So I'll just make my chain stitches here first. What you'll need to know for this hat are, as I said, chain stitches, half double crochets, single crochets, and slip stitches. Okay, now I'll just measure it. Okay, that's the right length for me. Now I'm going to add 2 extra chain stitches. Then yarn over for the half double crochets, and now I'm going to skip the first 2 chain stitches I have here. Insert into the 3rd chain stitch, pull the yarn through. Now I have 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through all 3 loops. That's my first half double crochet. Then yarn over again, insert into the next stitch. 3 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through. I'll do this until I have 10 stitches left on my hook, so 10 chain stitches will be left over at the end. Okay, 10 chain stitches are left. Now I'm going to work 4 single crochets. For that, I'll insert my hook here into the next chain stitch, pull the yarn through, and now I have 2 loops on the hook. Yarn over and pull through both loops. And right there, I'm going to place the first marker into this stitch I just made, specifically from my perspective into the back loop of the stitch. There's a reason for this, which I'll show you in a moment. So I'm carefully placing the marker right in the very first stitch into the back loop. And then I'll make 3 more single crochets. 1, 2, 3, and finally for a total of 4 in all, making 4 altogether. And into the remaining 6 stitches I'll now work slip stitches. That means I insert into the next chain stitch, pull the yarn through the stitch, and then directly through the other loop as well. One more time, insert into the stitch and pull the yarn directly through both loops. And here too, I'm going to place a marker in the back loop of the first slip stitch. A marker. And work the remaining 4 slip stitches. 3, 4, 5, 6. This isn't actually a stitch here, that's just from the starting loop. Then I'll make 1 turning chain and turn the whole thing. Now I'll skip the first chain stitch I just made. See, that's just my turning chain. And then here into the next stitch, well, you always have the front loop and the back loop. This V shape that you have here. And only into the back one, I'll now make another slip stitch. So that's 6. Carefully slip stitches into the back loop for each stitch when working. I'll do that until I reach my marker. That's just 1 more slip stitch there for you now. And then you will make 4 single crochet stitches again. These are also worked into the back loop only. So, not through both loops, as you would normally do in crochet, but really just here, specifically into the back loop. 2, 3, and 4. Now we'll continue with half double crochets, again only into the back loop. So yarn over your hook, then carefully insert it back here into the stitch and gently pull the yarn through. Now I have 3 loops on the hook. Take the yarn once again and pull it through all 3 loops on your hook. This completes the step. And I'll do this again until the end of the row, always inserting only into the back loop. So I'm almost at the end now. And you can also place another marker here if you're feeling a bit unsure or uncertain. This here is my final stitch, and this here is the stitch we skipped. So that is the very first of the 2 chain stitches that we made earlier. You can ignore that one now. See, that was your turning chain. So when I make 2 chain stitches here again, then it's this one here in the middle that you can ignore. As I said, make 2 turning chains, 1, then 2, just as before. I'll skip those again, and into the 3rd one right here, I'll insert my hook into the back loop once again and work half double crochets. So, and make sure that it stays nice and even here so you don't have too many or too few stitches. As I said, it's best to place a stitch marker right in this first stitch so you don't accidentally crochet into the edge stitch later. Then the whole thing becomes, it's uneven, so the edge won't be perfectly neat and tidy. That's really why it's best to mark the very first stitch here, the first half double crochet. So, and then you'll work your way back completely with half double crochets until you get back to your stitch marker. So I'm back here at my marker now. Of course, you can move the marker up in each round. I'll leave it like this for now and make my 4 single crochets again. 2 and 4. And for the remaining 6 stitches, you'll just simply do slip stitches again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. You can place another marker there if you're unsure about exactly where the last slip stitch is. Then make one turning chain again, turn your work, and then proceed to make the very first stitch, just as you did before. Chain stitch you just made, skip it, and work slip stitches into the next one again. Into the next 6 stitches on your needle carefully. 4, 5, 6. Now, after completing stitches 4, 5, and 6, you will work 4 single crochets. This means you make 1 single crochet into each of the next 4 stitches, 3 and 4. And then half double crochets back again, working carefully and evenly along the row. So, and then again 2 turning chains and crochet back. And here, for the slip stitches, you only make 1 turning chain. And you'll keep doing this until you reach your head circumference minus 2 centimeters. This is a very stretchy pattern. You'll notice that later on too. That's why it's better to make it 2 centimeters, 1.5 to 2 centimeters smaller, so the hat doesn't slip off your head. And because the pattern also stretches a bit. So in my case, that's 50 centimeters. So until I have 50 centimeters down here on the thicker side, then I'll show you what's next. So I now have the desired width, and now I'll place the ends on top of each other here. So right at the end here, I've already made one. So after the last stitch, it's important that you're now at the bottom of the hat and not at the top. And here I'll make another chain stitch. As I said, I'll place them on top of each other. And now crochet the 2 sides together. For that, I'll insert here after the chain stitch again into the back loop. Then I'll insert on the other side as well and pull the thread all the way through. So with a slip stitch, then carefully insert into the next stitch, insert on the opposite side, and close with a slip stitch again. Again into the back loop, carefully place your hook on the opposite side and make a slip stitch. Again into the back loop and make a slip stitch. I'll do this all the way until I've closed the sides up here at the top. So I've closed it here now. Then I'll cut the thread a bit longer here. To make sure it's long enough. And now I'll pull the thread through here one more time. And then I'll carefully thread it onto a sewing needle using gentle hands. So it really doesn't matter which way you choose to go through at this point right now, but now right here at the very top, at the very tip, and also along the edge. I'll go about 1 stitch lower than that, and I hope you can see that clearly. So not exactly right here at this single thread, but just a bit over here, a little bit further down right here. Deeper. Once to the front, and then slowly and carefully from back to front again. And do this all the way around. and check out my channel when you have time. Feel free to stop by. The whole thing really tight. To do that, I'll just go back and forth a few times. From the other side, you can also check, and as I said, you do this until you've closed the gaps here. I'll weave in the thread here in a moment as part of the next step in just a little while. And then your hat is finished, and now you can also, or leave it as is. Let's see if the color actually looks really good to us overall. A simple crocheted hat you can adjust to any size, because this stretches quite well. I'll weave in the thread here in a moment, just to be clear. And then your hat is finished, and now you can also, or leave it as is. Let's see if the color looks good. A very simple crocheted hat, and as I said, you can adjust it to any size, because this stretches quite well. I'll weave in the thread here in a moment. And then your hat is finished, and now you can also fold it over if you want, or leave it as is. I'm going to attach a pom-pom to it now. Let's take a moment to see if the color actually looks good to you. And that's it for this part. Now, as I mentioned earlier, if you want a hat that is fitted, or if you prefer a beanie, you can make that decision right at the very beginning when you are choosing the size. This way, you have the flexibility to select whichever style you like best, and you can be sure it will fit you comfortably. Yeah, and that's it. I hope you have a lot of fun making your own, and see you soon.